Shalom everybody, Akiva Gersh here from Vegan Rabbi, and it's a very special day in the Jewish calendar because today is Chai Elul, Yud Chet Elul, the 18th day of the month of Elul, and this is the Baal Shem Tov's birthday. The Baal Shem Tov, some of his teachings collected in this book, and I don't want to look at a specific teaching per se, but I do want to say a couple words about the Baal Shem Tov and how this ties into our theme of this page about eating in general and specifically the vegan diet. The Baal Shem Tov, amongst other things, brought to the Jewish world and to the Jewish consciousness this idea that everything matters, that every moment matters, that every moment potentially could be a holy moment, and that life isn't as neatly organized into spiritual and physical, holy and mundane as we sometimes think as human beings, but that every single moment could be a moment where we touch the divine, where we experience the divine, where we bring spirituality into our lives. And this theme is covered throughout his teaching and his students' teaching, and I believe it's one of the most important teachings that he shared with the Jewish world, right? That we shouldn't compartmentalize our lives, that we should see it as a unified whole. From the moment we get up in the morning till we go to bed, that we're really living every single day with potential moments of kedusha, of holiness, of bringing holiness into our own lives and also the entire world. And when we look at the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and his followers and his students who became in and of themselves Hasidic leaders, we see that very often there's one aspect of our lives that is talked about very specifically, about holding a great potential to bring kedusha, holiness, into someone's life, to bring spirituality into someone's life, and that is eating. Right? You see it all throughout the Hasidic teachings, throughout Chassidut, that the moment that we eat has such incredible power and such potential to bring incredible holy consciousness and awareness and connection into our lives. Right? So we know that Judaism is chock full of teachings of what to eat and what not to eat. But it's also, specifically when we look at the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and his followers, it's filled with teachings about how to eat, what to think about when we're eating, how do we actually physically eat, the actual manner in which we eat. And of course, what we eat, not so much in terms of the kosher, the strictly kosher way, but in terms of like the food that we're putting in our bodies, right? Once again, that idea of like, where does our food come from? What happened before it got to my plate? Right, being aware of that, being aware of the story, making sure that the food that I'm going to put into my body, that does have the intended purpose of helping me to bring holiness and awareness and spirituality into my life, making sure that food is as clean as possible, clean spiritually, right? And is food that is fitting for us to eat. And we know, unfortunately, in a world of confusion that we live in today, not everything that has a kosher stamp of approval is the best kind of food to eat, whether it's for health reasons, because it's filled with sugars and salts and fats and all kinds of, processed ingredients, or because if it's in the meat and the dairy world, it just didn't come from a good place. Right, the story behind the meat, the story behind the milk or the cheese or the yogurt, it looks nice in its package. It looks like it's fine and clean and all that. But we know when we peer into the story behind, unfortunately in our world today, right, so many problems arise. So we learn from Chassidut, which again was like the gift of the Baal Shem Tov to the Jewish people. This teaching comes up a lot, that tzaddikim, right? I'll just say this, the Baal Shem Tov used so many different tools to excite the people again of his generation, with song and with teachings and with stories and with getting together. One of the things that comes up again throughout Chassidut is the power of the tzaddik to be a role model of how we can live our own personal lives and strive for greatness and for spirituality and for holiness. And it's brought down a lot in Chassidut that it's tzaddik, right? The main thing that brings a tzaddik to the level of being a tzaddik, a righteous, holy person, is the way the person eats, right? What they eat, how they eat, what they're thinking about when they eat. Of course, how they use the energy that the food gave them, right? But part of that whole story is definitely, for sure, where did my food come from? I've met many people throughout the past many years of my own life and spiritual journey, people who would not touch certain kinds of food, even if it had the kosher stamp of approval, because they knew it wasn't coming from a clean place. It wasn't coming from a place that was free of suffering and of pain for the animals. And either they decided not to eat meat at all, or they said, I'm only going to eat very specific kinds of meat that come from very specific kinds of places where I know that the farmer is raising these animals with love and with care and with compassion. And mix into that they're just going to eat meat on Shabbat and Chagim. That's something that we'll explore in a future video. But just this idea, the Baal Shem Tov's birthday, we owe him so much. He gave the Jewish world so many gifts. He revolutionized Judaism. He brought Judaism back to life. And amongst all the different things he gave us was the teaching to be aware of what we eat, of how we eat, to make sure that the food that we're eating is not only physically clean, is not only kosher according to the Jewish laws, but is spiritually, emotionally clean as well, that it's coming from places where we would feel good about. I'll end with one last little thing about the Baal Shem Tov. A beautiful story says about the Baal Shem Tov that before he became well known in the world as the Baal Shem Tov, he was a shochet, he was a slaughterer. And then he left, to go on to his journey, and somebody else came in to be the shochet in the small little town that he was a shochet in. And this new shochet, this new ritual slaughterer, went down to the lake in his town to clean the knives. And this villager came by just to kind of watch him do his thing, and was just kind of like shaking his head. And the shochet, who's been studying for years, and he knows what he's doing, and he's cleaning the knives with the water of the lake, the way he should and needs to according to Jewish law. He says to this villager, like, why are you shaking your head? Like, you look like you're displeased with what I'm doing, that I don't have your approval. And the villager says to him, it's like, you're right, and I just want you to know that the previous shochet of our town, right, who was the Baal Shem Tov, he didn't need the water of the lake to clean his knives. He cleaned his knives, the villager said, with his own tears. Right? That it hurt him so much to take the life of another animal. He mamash cried so many tears that it was enough liquid to clean the knives that he needed to be super clean and super sharp to do the shechita that would make this animal meat kosher. Right? They say about the Baal Shem Tov that he would sit with animals before actually killing them for like hours, like embracing them, hugging them, talking to them, crying with them, asking their forgiveness and asking them for their permission, right, to even shech them, right. So the Baal Shem Tov gave us so much, gave so many teachings and so many of his actions to use as role models in our own lives. And when we fast forward a few hundred years and we live in this, modernized, industrialized world, especially on food, I think it's really kedai. It really makes a lot of sense to take his teachings and apply them in a certain way that really make distinctions about what is okay to eat today and what's not okay to eat, and allow the depths of his spiritual teachings to guide our own actions in general today, and specifically the way we eat. All the best, and be well.